Hi, guys. It's Beth here with Aging Care Solutions, offering both professional guidance and personal caregiving experience to everybody that's traveling the care journey of life. So, welcome back. I'm happy that you're here, and I'm happy that I'm here. Today, as the title would indicate, is something that I have personal experience with, and that is remotely managing and providing caregiver services. Now, it wasn't hands on, but I thought, helping in a highly effective way, but really with minimal oversight. So some of these strategies will be considered proactive. Others will kind of build over time to ensure that your family member, your loved one, it could be a cousin, it could be somebody that you don't even really know. Like you could be tasked, and this happened in my professional career. There was a lot of people who didn't never got married and never had children. So there was a fair amount of people who they might have a nephew who was their only living relative. And, you know, it was very challenging because these people lived in California and here we are right outside Washington, or they maybe didn't have anyone. So, um, everyone's case and everybody's care and everybody's needs were completely different. So every time I met with a family or sat bedside with anyone, it was just a very unique experience. So sometimes there would be a lot of kids. Sometimes there was a second marriage and there was even more adult children who all wanted to give their input. And that could sometimes be just a lot on the patient or the client and even the care team that's in there. So some of these strategies will, like I said, be proactive, while you're building trust. And in all likelihood, if it's a family member, they're already going to trust that you're helping them, that you have good intentions for them, and that you really just want them to remain at home as long and safely as possible. So one of the things that we used to do from a professional standpoint is every time we set up a new client, we created what's called a care binder. So these binders are really like sometimes it's medical history because there could be allergies or there could be, really all different types of health conditions that need to be managed. Could be diabetes or they might have, congestive heart failure, COPD. So everybody's history is different. But what it would include is an entire list of medications that that person is taking, any allergies that they might have to certain medications. It would also include a page or more of their daily schedule. What does that look like? Are you an early riser? Is the patient or client someone who likes to sleep in and then they're kind of a night owl? I mean, you want to meet them at their level of need and ability, but at the same time, you want to have as much information so in the event that you do need to assist them, you've got things like emergency contacts, their health insurance information, and their doctors and all their telephone numbers and things like that. And also there was a section on certain things like days of the week that you wanted certain things done, what foods they like, what they dislike, their sleep habits, their social patterns, and any small changes that may signal issues. Like, so if somebody is not really taking care of themselves, maybe they're struggling to do their personal care, their hygiene care, dressing, and really taking any care of their personal appearance. A lot of times, people, they don't even know themselves that they're potentially depressed, or maybe they're not feeling well and they have an infection that they don't even know about. So that's really what this is all about, is really just kind of staying on top of it, because there's going to be great times and then there's going to be sad times and scary times for people who are on this care journey and on the aging spectrum of life. And sometimes you'll see somebody and they're not doing well, and then the next time you see them, they've got all their energy back. They got over their bad bout of whatever it was. It could have been the flu, or maybe they had coronavirus at one point. But we all need to have someone that can help us. And I'm going to do a video about this next, but long-term care insurance, I mean, if you do not have anybody, it's advisable, and I'll tell you about that later. But also using technology to stay in touch with your loved one. I did a video about this not too long ago, and there's so many ways to help. And one of the things that the care teams that I worked with would help facilitate is to do like a Zoom call or a face-to-face video chat so that client would be able to see their loved one every week. Maybe Sunday was their day to do their Sunday check-in, or every Saturday they would have a face-to-face call and what's going on, and they would show pictures of, of the kids. I'm dog sitting. So here he comes, his panting and his, anyway. Setting up smart home devices like motion sensors, fall detectors. I'm really big on the fall prevention. So by having the wristlet or the amulet that hangs on the body, so that if someone does have a fall, they've got an emergency response device right on them. Also, door alerts can help keep informed whether anyone, like Ring doorbells, you could have it set so that you're also on there and able to see when packages are delivered, if anybody from a care team, like a nurse, is coming in. All these devices are very helpful. People never had these before, but these are definitely ways to help keep somebody safe at home, but also know there's a backup if someone sees that they have fallen. There's also medication dispensers. I worked with a company, Care Patrol. They used to refer me quite a bit, and I would refer them when people needed tours of assisted living. And they provided a service that would make a phone call and help people with their medication reminders. But they do make dispensers that have little alarms on them. So if someone has to take medications morning, noon, and night, or at bedtime, these little medication dispensers can also, signal them. It can either come through their cell phone, or it can be something right on the device to remind them. The other thing are apps that can be used, like CareZone, MediSafe, Google Keep, which can track medications, appointments, and you could put notes in there. So I would also suggest, this is something that I did for my mother, is to build a local support team or network of, trusted helpers. And they can come in the form of a neighbor who maybe has lived next door to your parent or your brother or whoever your loved one is. Sometimes these neighbors, like my mother's neighbors, they were neighbors for like 50 years or more. So they all really did look out for each other. So, trusted neighbors, any friends who are in the network that your loved one may have known from growing up there, or someone from school, or maybe they work together. And then there's also paid services for like home health aides. But if someone has a higher level of need, then of course you would assign more of a geriatric care manager, or someone who might be able to do more nursing care for someone. And that would be just coordinating professionals. So, geriatric care managers, especially for somebody who might have, they're very lonely. They could potentially have any type of the beginning of dementia. It's always good to kind of have somebody, especially someone that's clinical. Maybe they have their MSW in social work, and they are able to come in and do an assessment just to make sure, is that person safe? Are they meeting all the criteria for someone who does appear to really have all their faculties, that they are managing to cook and drive and do other things that maybe they are used to doing. Otherwise, they can at least give you an update and have a baseline too of that person's ability at that time. So maybe you have them come in once a year to do oversight. Now, if you're really worried about that person, these geriatric care managers are tremendous resource, because they are local. They're going to visit in person, and they are going to be able to give you a detailed report about how your loved one is doing. They can see everything from weight loss or maintaining their weight to whether they're able to keep up with their bill payments. Just, are they social? Are they getting out? Are they doing things? What are they talking about when they're having these meetings? So it is a great way to really get up to the minute reporting on how that person's doing. Of course, visiting nurses, meal delivery services, these are all some of what I'd consider support services that are out in the community. And the other thing that I would do is I would put a lockbox on that house, outside that house somewhere. You would need a code, so it would be a keyless entry to a lockbox, just like what a realtor would use. And the only people that are going to have it would be the neighbor, and potentially like a geriatric care manager or a nurse that's coming in. Otherwise, if the client is able to get to and from the door and they're not a fall risk and they really are just having people come in that are coming in under their health insurance. But a lot of people need companionship too. So it's really awesome. We used to really have some great caregivers that would go in, and not only would they drive them places, they would take them to get their hair done, and they always felt awesome when they got their hair done. And then if they needed to go and do a little shopping, it's so great because you have somebody there carrying your packages and even helping assist if you're using a walker or a wheelchair to get around. And then those people, and then these aides and companions can do meal preparation. They can prepare things so that there's a couple meals that are prepared for them. Also take out the trash and recycling and change the bed linens and do all of the things that might just be too much for someone that's approaching 90 that lives alone but still has all their faculties. And then I would also suggest establishing and sticking to like a routine as far as check-ins and visits. That way, someone looks forward to your call. Back when I was away at school, one of the things that we established was that every Sunday night at 5 p.m. I would call my parents, and they would say they would ask me how I was doing. I would get all the, update on everything that's going on at home, and that was our time. And we did that for years and years. I just remember finding payphones and calling collect. So that just tells you. Anyway, other recurring schedules that can be set up could be like grocery delivery, things that are going to make this person's life a lot easier. House cleaning. I mean, there's nothing better than having somebody come in and scrub the bathrooms, get the kitchen all cleaned up, and even some of these agencies will do laundry, wash and do the laundry and put linens and things like that back on the bed or just put things away. And of course, transportation can be arranged. There's so many different types of transportation out there now. But if someone does have a wheelchair or a walker and they need specialized transportation, many times if it's just a walker or a rollator, those can easily be put into an Uber or a Lyft. But if they do need specialized, then of course they would, have that set up in advance. There's also shared calendars, which are really helpful to a lot of family caregivers that are managing remotely. That way you can see when there's appointments. Sometimes I used to go up on a Friday because I had a 6-hour drive. So many times I would leave very early in the morning. So we would be like the last visit of the day. And we did that with attorneys and her financial planner and also her doctors, just so that they knew that I was her power of attorney. And if you have not established that, that should be in your binder because you cannot get anything answered. You can't call and ask any questions unless that client has given you permission. Otherwise, HIPAA violations. So anyway, I kind of feel like, being proactive and not reactive. And I was reactive many times because things would happen or I wouldn't be able to find her. She was just really out living her life. But at the same time, knowing that she was becoming very forgetful, it would make me very worried. So I would sometimes call her neighbor, can you go over and look in the garage and see if her car is there? It's just, anyway. So I was kind of hyper vigilant with seeing, are there any changes? What's happening? Is she always seemed happy when I talked to her, but yet I talked to my neighbor and he would tell me a different story. So yeah, they would see her day to day. And I didn't, I was calling and she'd ask how the babies were doing. And so it was different. It was, she wanted me to think she was okay. And the reality is over time, over that next couple of years, she wasn't. And that's when I knew that was my window. And some of these other things that you can do to be proactive is really have these wellness audits or wellness visits done every few months. Because, all it takes is one bad bout of the flu or bronchitis or someone to have a fall. And it changes everything. It changes everything on that person's ability to safely navigate stairs in the home. Even just getting dressed. If you have a cast on your arm or you have fallen and, you're in a lot of pain and you're managing your medication, but you're not eating properly, there's so many things where it becomes like this balancing act. And if you're exhausted and you take medication, you can't remember if you've taken it and you're not filling your pill reminder bottle or case the right way. And also have like backup plans in the event that, you cannot reach that person. Um, you know, like what I did, have the emergency contact be the neighbor who can at least tell you, yes, that person's car is there, or I see the lights on. Let me go over and see if I can get in. Letting them have a key. For me, I gave two neighbors a key to my mother's house, and she was fine with it. They all looked after each other too, because slowly everybody's husband or whatever started dying, and it was just a great network of long time neighbors. So anyway, maintaining like this emotional connection with this person, for me, I used to send pictures and little cards, especially if it was like a Valentine's Day or if Easter or whatever. I would just send a little card so that my mother knew I was thinking about her. And I just encouraged her to do the things that I knew. She did stop driving at night, which I don't even like to drive at night, but I do. But still, just encouraging her to stay social, but yet be safe at home until I knew that she really couldn't live alone anymore. So yeah, living as a remote caregiver can be real challenging. Ultimately, I knew that she couldn't live alone, and I knew her safety and potentially the safety of anybody else that was on the road while she was driving could spell a huge liability. So my window, and this may happen for you, it may not happen right away. And in fact, it may not happen at all that you would encourage that person to move closer to you. But for me, I basically insisted on it because she couldn't live alone. Her mother passed away, and that was what was keeping her there all those years, was looking after my grandmother, her mom. But once my grandmother died, it was almost like that was a gift, because I was then able to, encourage her to come and help me with my little kids who are now, older. They're 18 now, but back then they were 2, and it was great to have somebody there, even if I was really looking after her as well. But she helped pick out the assisted living that she wanted to live in. She was 15 minutes from me. Oh, it just made a world of difference. And I think it brought her a much happier quality of life. I know that it brought us and me personally a happier quality of life, because I was able to see her more, share the holidays with her, and just really look after her and make sure she was getting good care. It was very hard because she'd never lived outside of her hometown, and that home she lived in, for 50 years, I think it was, something like that. So anyway, I hope this was helpful for you. Everybody's case, as I said, everybody's life and caregiving experience is vastly different. But if you're facing something right now, if there's anything that I can do to help you, feel free to put it in the comments, and I can do a little bit of research for you and get it sent to you, or at least answer you, or we can connect somehow, either through Zoom or private message. And that way I'd be able to at least find other tips and tricks that might help keep your remote caregiving job a little bit easier. So I'm sending you a big hug. I know that caregiving can be real challenging, but I know you can do it. And we should all be so lucky to have a great caregiver like us helping our family members. So I'll see you at the next video. Take care.